Let's think about that for a minute. I truly want for all of us to have a life of value, a life of meaning that can pull us out of either side of that spectrum that's going on in our life when we know there's something from the inside that pulls us on and forward. And if we have a life of value and meaning, it means we ask, how do I get in integrity with my soul? What does my soul want for me? What is the most important thing that inside of me needs to keep in alignment with good, with God, with love, with faith? What is the most important thing? And I want you to be thinking about that this morning. What is your thing of value that makes your life meaningful? Beyond just success that comes and goes, but the thing that is really true to you. That's what it means for me to reach for the stars. That thing that keeps me looking up, looking at what's good and right and true, and keeping my life in alignment with that. You know, it was wonderful. Wasn't it wonderful having all our really wonderful guys up here who said yes, that they would help keep us safe? It's training. It's teaching, it's practicing, it's learning, keeping on top of things. Well, they've got our back, and Aida, did you love being up here with all your guys? She loves that part, but yes, she did. And she just takes good care of all of us, but they've got our back physically, but I got your back spiritually. Because God's right here, and that's why we're together. Because we know that, we got to take care of that, but we got to take care of that too. God's got our back, but we got to do the work. We started this month, we said we were going to go back to the basics. There's only really two fundamental realities that our teaching stands upon. Two fundamental realities that we really have to get grounded in and get planted in to keep our life going in that place that keeps us in alignment with our good. Number one is there is one divine presence, universal and personal to us all. God is all there is. I think we have that one, right? We got that one pretty well. We can say that without a hiccup, right? You can just say, yeah, God is all there is. There's a divine presence all in, through, and as me right now. The other one we don't have quite so well is this divine presence is only good. There's a power for good and a law for good that is bigger than we are, and we can use it at any time. Are you there all the time? Not so much, because the hard times get really hard, but in the times that are hard, we have to persist, because that really tells us who we are. It's easy to be happy and good and joyous in the good times, but in the tough times, it's when we really learn about who we are. So we're going to talk today about what that goodness means. Accept the good. Well, what is the good? The good is our spiritual power. Okay, it's our spiritual power. We are human beings, but we are spiritual beings having this human experience. We are spirit first, but we get so tied up in this human realm with our five senses, we get confused. So we have to keep remembering our spiritual power is greater than any circumstance. Our spiritual power is the good that is ever present. And good means no matter what's going on, anywhere, anytime, that God is there, love is there, and truth is there. And that's what good is. The tricky part of this goodness is we have to accept it. You see, the good can never be depleted because it's what God, divine presence, is. But it can be unused. Do you get that? We can have the good right there for us, a higher thinking, a higher way of knowing, a greater understanding, a greater acceptance, as Susan read so beautifully this morning. But if we're not using that greater understanding, then we're misusing that power for good. How many of you would say that these times are pretty tumultuous? Could I see a hand? How many say these times are, yeah, we're in this together. Okay. Well, you know, not all of you, but some of you were around in the 1960s. The 60s were pretty tumultuous times too. We had some assassinations of President Kennedy and Senator Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. We had the Vietnam War raging and thousands dying and protests brewing, and we had the civil rights movement, the actions of the civil rights movement and the hippie subculture, which I know several here were involved in that. And Americans were very divided. We feel it now. But there was one single thing that really brought us as Americans together and the whole world together. It happened on July 20th, 1969, when Apollo 11 landed on the moon. Something people thought could never be possible. And 93% of Americans had their black and white TV sets on. They didn't have a record and wait then, you know, on demand and all that. They watched the moon landing. Neil Armstrong, and then I can't remember how much later, Buzz Aldrin, and they heard in that choppy recording, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind to do the impossible. Well, things are a little different, I think. And it's not about one small leap for one single man. I believe if you and I are going to change this world the way we know we can, when Ernest Holmes says, change your thinking, change your life, when we change our thinking, we can change the world. I know that deep in my soul, that we can do that together. But we have to really be committed to be looking and accepting the good that's present. And that's that second fundamental reality, that life is good no matter what's going on. When we say this too is good, it doesn't mean, oh, just forget it, it's good. It means inside of every problem, if we're willing to look at it, as Susan said, if we're willing to feel it and embrace it, there's something that wants to be born inside of that. I'm going to read something. There's two readings I have today, one from Ernest Holmes. Well, first of all, from Norman Vincent Peale and The Power of Positive Thinking. He said, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you land in the stars. Ernest Holmes says, now, right now, and you know, we misuse or misunderstand the power of now. Right now, in this moment, and he didn't say this, but I'm saying it right now, we can either maintain and continue the old patterns of thought that keep us stuck and sad and unhappy and all of that, or we can create a whole new pattern of thought that brings us happiness and joy and greater understanding. That is the power of now that Eckhart Tolle was talking about when he said the power of now. It's not, oh, I'll think about it tomorrow. It's now. It holds all the creative energy of the universe. So I'll go back to what Ernest said. He said, it's time to awaken out of sleep. The belief in a life apart from good is a dream from which we must awake. This awakening is a process of evolution. A little here, a little there. We don't just wake up. It happens little by little. And he goes on to say, until the whole eye is open, and we see that life is neither separate from God nor different than good. Life is God, and good is the only power there can ever be. I'm going to read that last sentence one more time, and I want you to just bring it into your body, and I want you to feel it, because whatever you brought in, whatever was in the either end of that spectrum of really, really, really hard and really, really, really good, wherever you are, I want you to just bring this in. Life is God, and good is the only power there is or can ever be. The song we heard in the beginning, Reach for the Stars. The Hindu interpretation of Reach for the Stars, which I equated with finding what it is that brings value and goodness and understanding and meaning to your life, and keep reaching for that. Well, the Hindus say reach for the stars, even if it means you have to stand on a cactus. Kind of tells you the whole thing, that life is good and life is hard, and we got to keep going towards that thing we know is the most important thing for each and every one of us. It's there. So what does it mean that we have to accept the good that's already there? Well, we can ignore it and push it aside, but we need to have a bowl of acceptance. You see, in God's storehouse, it is filled to overflowing with goodness and possibilities and greater understanding and truths, but we have to have a bowl of acceptance. Now, if you don't understand what that means, and it has to be clean and open and available to accept the good. Here's a question I'm going to ask you right now, just today. Well, right now in this moment, because it may have many different answers, even in the few hours we've been up and awake this morning, but what's using me right now? And let me explain that a little further. What's using me? Fear or faith? Anger or love? Problems or possibilities? All of those this morning, jumping back and forth. It's a really good awareness to bring to this bowl of acceptance, because if your bowl is filled with fear and doubt and problems and unhappiness and all of that, you don't have room for the greater understanding. The faith that is hand in hand with love that really keeps us going. We got to keep that bowl of acceptance clean. Did anybody remember the question I asked? What's using me? Say it. What's using me? Because this morning I just got a funny little feeling. I thought, what's using me? What's using? Where's this coming from? This little bit of being unsettled. Because I love Sunday mornings. I mean, I love them. I'm usually in a really good, and I had to sit. That's what's using me this morning. I need to change that. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? It was Mark Twain who said, to get ahead, you have to get started. Which is, to me, like we got to do the work. We can bitch and complain and whine because we're unhappy and life isn't going our way, and we can do all of that and keep repeating that same story and maintain that thought pattern, right? Do you ever do that? Yes. Do we all? Yes. Or we can create a new reality by going, yeah, this is uncomfortable, but here's what's possible. And he went on with that little sentence of, to get ahead, you have to get started. Take any complex, overwhelming situation. How many of you have one of those in your life right now? A complex, overwhelming situation. That's pretty much a good part of life a lot of times. Boil it down. Take it down to small, manageable steps. And take the first step when? Thank you. Lois knew she was listening till she got the power of now. Yay! Okay, one out of all of you are right. That's good. That's the first step, Lois. It was the first step. Perfect. Because we can't give up. Even when the night doesn't seem to end. And that's my second reading for today. In the following poem, Hafez, who is the 14th century Sufi mystic poet, this was 800 years before Ernest Holmes, describes the process of growing to a state of mystical experience. And of course, he is a poet, so he speaks in metaphors. Light will someday split you open, even if your life is now a cage. Little by little, you will turn into stars. Even then, my dear, even then, you will only be a crawling infant, still skinning your knees on God. Little by little, you will turn into the whole, sweet, amorous universe. Love will surely burst you wide open into an unfettered, booming new galaxy. You will become so free in a wonderful secret and pure love that flows from a conscious, one-pointed, infinite light. Even then, my dear, the beloved will have fulfilled just a fraction of a promise he wrote on your heart. When your soul begins to ever bloom and laugh and spin in eternal ecstasy, oh, little by little will you turn into God. We are part of an ever-evolving process that's guiding us to that light of awareness, the light of understanding, the light of knowing. It's all part of a divine plan. And we each have a place that we hold right here and right now. Oh, I was reading these quotes by Hafez, and I thought I might have written them down, but I didn't. It said, I want you to know, my dear, that God has made a circle all around you on the earth, which is right where you are meant to be. So right where we are right now in this moment is right where we are meant to be. And we are in this together. So besides that good is ours and having the bowl of acceptance, the last thing about accepting the good is remembering there's a unifying context to goodness. We can't ever feel greedy or selfish because we want our good. We're not taking good away from somebody else. That's only if we believe there's only a limited amount of good to go around. How many of you still think that? Sometimes there's only so much good to go around. There's good for everyone and anyone. And what Ernest Holmes said, just channeling that spirit, is we can have as much good as we can embody as long as it doesn't harm someone else. We're not here to take someone else's good. We've got plenty of our own good to manifest and enjoy right here and right now. The only thing we have to do is say yes. Oh, hey, you taught them, Lois. They got it over on this side now. Yes. Okay, so I am a channel for God's abundant good. I let the light of good flow through me. Generously, joyously, and infinitely. My life is good. And turn to the person next to you and say, and so is yours. And so is yours. And so is yours. Right there. Don't let anybody not know it. And so is yours. Because as our life gets better in this conscious of unity, we uplift this entire world. We can't help but do it because life is all about energy and we're part of that good. So I am so glad that I am in this with you right now. And I know together we're going to land on that moon of love, that moon of light, that moon of greater understanding, and we're going to see this world in a beautiful perspective of goodness and joy. I am blessed to have you as fellow travelers. Thank you for sharing this precious and sacred time with me. God bless you all, and so it is. Thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you.